Okay, so last we left off, we got into how the secret arts and the dark arts are used into the political spectrum. But a couple things I didn't go over in more detail, limited on time. So before I go into this couple things I missed that I want to make sure you guys understand, I want to go over a scale. That these things are taught in a progressional model, and it's in 7 different levels. I'm going to write down here at the bottom. I'm going to have to erase all this and I'm going to start over. But there's 7 levels. We'll try to do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The first level is called stone level. Then we have wood and iron, bronze, silver, gold, and finally star. Now these 7 levels on both the secret arts and the dark arts have both of them have a scale of 7. So to learn the secret arts, you have to go through 1 through 7. To learn the dark arts, you have to go through 1 through 7. There's more to it than that, but I'm going to hold off on that. So I have my notes here. Make sure that we cover everything. The next thing is that last time I talked about the red pill and the blue pill. So your red pill is your right hand art of separation, right? And your blue pill is your left hand art of seduction. So a couple things I want to make sure we don't get confused. So we know that the Pharisee, which is really parisy, to separate, it was later changed to these people mean they're the separate ones, as if they're separated or sanctified away from, the world or something, but that's not really true. These were people meant to divide people and change scripture and change doctrine so that you're not red-pilled. So let me explain that real quick a little bit better. If you are in red pill means to wake up, right? Just like in the Matrix. Blue pill still means you're asleep. Well, the thing is, on the left hand, they're kind of left to themselves. That's why you've got your agnostic and atheist, meaning they don't really believe in God, and if they do, they're not sure who He is. Now, the traditional conservatives over here, they believe in God. That's why they have conservative values, because they're trying to keep the commandments, right? So this is more of the path of enlightenment, or climbing the stairway to heaven, so to speak, right? Because over here they believe in God, and over here they kind of, there's variations, but majority it's agnostic and atheist, right? So this is where you start to wake up, because the hand of God is also called the knowledge of God. So as you get the knowledge of God, you begin to climb up and you begin to wake up more and more. Yeah. Well, these guys, they know that. So what had happened is that the Pharisee, or the art of separation, is to give you, every time you climb up, they have to put a lie at every level of separation. So as you may discover at this level some truth, as you begin to climb up to find more truth, there's a lie at every level that you have to be able to unravel to be able to climb up all the way. Now, these scales calibrate you. And these scales are what we call, this is why celebrities are called celebrities, because they know the scales and are calibrated to them. Well, this used to be the case anyways. So now, celebrities are also called stars, because they're at a high and lifted up place, and they should have all the knowledge there. So that's the high places up here, is telling you. So another thing we kind of have to know is not just the scale of stone to star, but we also have what we call, and this might trigger some of you to know what I'm talking about here, is the 7 spheres of influence. Now, 7 spheres of influence are 7 spheres in which are called 7 mountains. And the reason why it's a mountain, because you got to climb it, right? At the top of the mountain is the high place, and down here's the low place. Low place, right? So 7 mountains. What are the 7 mountains? Well, 7 mountains are the one that's currently being infiltrated right now is a government. The celebrities, the calibrated ones, the stars, are in the arts and entertainment. We have the media. We have, after these 3, we have the education, the family. I'll put one over here. We have the religious, or religion mountain. And finally, the business mountain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are 7 spheres of influence. Now, what you do is, in these spheres, you want to, in order to birth a nation or take over a nation, depends on if you're restoring a nation from its fallen state, or if it's in a high state and you're trying to take it over and collapse it, right? You want to go in these 7 spheres of influence. So you can influence, like through here's our culture, arts and entertainment, right? Here's where laws are in your government. All of these, when you control these, you control your times. Now, at times, I didn't get into too much into what times was last time, but times are like when someone says, hey, yeah, good times, all right. Then there's also bad times, like, oh man, times are hard right now. Right? Times are your situations, your circumstances, and your scenarios that are either good or evil. Right? And so I'm going to just keep it at that. It's deeper than that. But those are usually controlled by the high places, by what laws are into effect, and mainly what words are being spoken and projected and broadcasted from these high places here. And that later gets into what's called frames, like your frame of mind. But we'll get into that another time. So back onto, now we understand there's a scale and there's a position that those scales are, the scale of knowledge here is projected from. Now back to that red pill. Red pill is like that wake up kind of, you're starting to wake up, right? Well, everyone's at a different place of how much they're woke up. So the doctrines that were changed, what they do is they cause breaches in the walls on each one of these levels, right? A breach is a break or a separation. So you got a break or a breach or a separation, or something's missing, or it doesn't come back full circle. So keep that in mind. So when the Pharisees, I'm going to tell you a little story here, is that when the Pharisees got super popular because of the revelation of Jesus Christ and their ways were made known, these guys had to rebrand. When they rebranded, they became later what's called the Jesuits. Makes sense, right? Since the revelation of Jesus Christ, right now these guys are had, so they had to move on and leave this name. But the Jesuits use the same operation of the right hand. So the right hand goes into your right your right side of your spectrum, and it goes to your religious side, right? And so now the Jesuits are still a little bit here today, but it carried on to more than just Jesuits. Later, I won't write this, I'll just say it. Then they rebranded again and again and again and again. They have different parties too, different branches. They got into Scottish Rite, you got into Knights Templar, Illuminati, Freemasonry, and that's where it is today. So these were they got into secret societies. All these kind of doctrines were all secret, and they were underground, where they lie in wait privately to like a snake. And that's what. Now this is just this art here. This is completely different. It's a different tactic, but both of them sell you short. So these tactics, again, art of seduction is used over here, and the art of separation is used over here. So the art of separation isn't to wake you up, it's to keep you from being woke up. But we know that every time that you can overcome one of these lies, you're more red-pilled. That's why the red pill's on the right side, because you have to discover the mysteries in order to wake up out of the 7 levels. Okay? And you'll find that the mysteries are all in this here. I'm going to write all those out as we move on. We got to keep it short today. So the next thing is I need to a little bit tell you more of a history timeline of these two things so we can begin to break down what's more on these sides here. So after what happened was, there's a whole long story to it, but when these guys, since they lie in wait to deceive, what happens was the Jesuits, they went into the church, at the time we called it the Catholic Church, Universal Church, and they changed all the doctrines. Then there was 1,000 years dark ages where the only thing that was big in that time, the biggest thing, was the Renaissance, which was all that stuff was made from the secret arts. But a lot of the dark ages, because there was no illumination as concerning the hand of God during that time. It wasn't until there was a Protestant Reformation with Martin Luther, John Wesley, and then you had all these Protestant Reformations. And those Reformations are reforming the secret arts of what the first church knew. And so now, where we're at today, is that we're heading into that last movement of bringing back everything that the first church knew, and we're going to get into all that stuff. But so I'll write a little bit down here. So you had the big ones were your Lutherans, Martin Luther. After that, of course, you had John Wesley and things like that. Methodists and all that stuff. But the next biggest one was your Baptist. Then you had your Pentecostal movement. Then you had your Charismatic movement. Then your Prophetic. Now we're in what's called the Apostolic. Now this is where we are now. Now are all these opposed to one another? Not really, but they're limited in their knowledge. So you could say your Lutheran is about right here, Baptist here, Pentecostal here, and so forth. Right? So last thing we'll get into, this is good for now, but because we got to cut it short here, we're going to continue again, and we're going to the left hand of things. Alright, so last we left off, we're talking about what exactly is the red pill side here, because we want to know that the right hand art of separation, which is from a doctrine of the Pharisees, which is, it was before these guys, but this is where it was popular. The dark arts, the Babylonian dark arts was popular, again, because the Jewish people were taken over by Babylon, but in there they learned the Babylonian dark arts, and out pops these two sects. And so there was a right hand art of separation, a left hand art of seduction. But when I say right hand art of separation, that doesn't mean all your right hand Republican people are Pharisees. It means this, it means, because this thing was rebranded, right? Those doctrines were just so happened to be in the Jewish nation as a right-hand order separation, but when they rebranded, became Jesuits, it went into that new movement of the Christian church. Then they changed all the doctrines and they hid these things so that the hand of God would not form. And so they started forming their own hand, and later we'll get into whose hand that was. But it's not the hand of God, it's an opposite hand, a reciprocal. So, red pill, we know that there is 7 levels to be red pilled, but there's also 7 levels to be kind of blue pilled. There's an ascension ladder that goes up on the red pill, and we got a descension ladder that goes down on the blue pill. Make you more go to sleep. This one wakes you up. So we talked about on the traditional conservative side, which is the red pill side, is you find out there's, these are the secrets or the mysteries of God, also known as the revelation of Jesus Christ. They call this the knowledge of God. So one thing I didn't put down, though, is that the knowledge of God was broke down, just like the 7 spheres of influence and the 7 levels. It was broke down into 7 topics: the 7 arts and sciences, the 7 arts and sciences, which explain what the more the knowledge of God, which is music. We'll put a little dot here, and then music, geometry, and astronomy. You had arithmetic, you had rhetoric, its ability to paint a story, had logic, your ability to debate and understand mind sciences and such. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and arithmetic or astronomy, geometry, sick. What was the last one? Sick, arithmetic, rhetoric, logic. Oh, grammar. That is the kind of the structure of sentences and their sounds. The sounds of languages. And this is an interrelated system. So when you understand the mechanics of these topics and their subject matters, those things are in these 4 topics. So those things help explain the mysteries or the secrets or the revelations of God, also known as the revelation of Jesus Christ. So these are topics. I know we're painting a big picture so far. We haven't really got into what is these things, deep detail, like, the methods of art of seduction, the methods of separation, some examples. We're going to get into some of that stuff, but we got to lay a foundation first of the big picture. So next we got to get into another one here. So we got to talk about the left side. All right, so the left-hand art of seduction is done on the left side. So we want to kind of break down this side a little bit. Seduction, what it is that it will sell you peace, life, and liberty, but in the end seduce you or sell you short, right? So I'm going to give you some of those examples here. The left side, on the Democrat side, they go through a few different policies. We're going to label them as social justice. Social justice? What is social justice? I'm so glad you asked. Social justice is stuff in your social dynamics that these people feel like they've been victims. So that's our Black Lives Matter, our feminism, LGBT now Q, and we'll start with those 3 first. These things push an agenda through seduction. They don't have to use tactics of conservative values and stuff and hide them and change your conservative values, hide those things and hide the secrets of God. That's what this one does. Hides them, changes them, and make sure you don't find them. These ones don't have to play with God because you're agnostic atheists over here. But what they do, and it's not to say that there isn't variations, because people are in different places. Some people can be like a housewife can be a traditional conservative in her family view, but she may be civilly liberal. These are your social justice, your Democrats, also known as your liberals. Why are they called liberals? Because they're free from keeping the commandments, the 10 commandments, right? I'm free from that. I don't do all that. I'm free. I'm liberal. They promise them life, liberty, peace, and justice. That's what the seduction is, art of seduction. So they go to these people and say, you're victims, and so we want to bring you justice. And guess who did it to you? These guys. So they got these guys battling these guys, and these guys were like, well, they're robbing us, and so we don't like these ones. And the ultimate goal is to use both sides to do this, right? To contradict one another, hate one another, and so a country divided against itself cannot stand. And if you're not standing, you're falling, right? You're down here. If you rise up, you're standing up, and now you're in a high place. But if you're not rising, you're falling, and now you're at a low place, right? So these ones are doctrines or policies that will first tell you that you are a victim, that you're entitled to some justice, and now we're going to hand you something we call the handout, and we're going to take it from somewhere else. And really the point is to come after another group of people. So there is another one in here that's very close to this. I'm not going to put it way over here. And these guys are no different than the Black Lives Matter. But why is the KKK? If Black Lives Matter and what's the indoctrinations that's upon that group is a social justice art of seduction tactic, why are the KKK all the way over here on the alternative right? Because they're still traditional conservative in their family values, although they are using a left hand art has been used on them in their minds. So racism is a tactic used to seduce you, and what it does is it makes you hate someone because you've been feelings of injustice from them, right? So this is kind of both sides here as concerning all these things. Okay, last where we left off was in our left hand art of seduction, right? And the doctrines of the Babylonian dark arts that was in the Sadducee, those same methods are used today in our nation and generation, and they form these groups on the left side, the Black Lives Matter, feminism, LGBTQ. Now we're not too familiar with all the angles of what seduction is. Some of us have heard what seduction is, some of us have not. I'm going to also list off a couple more things that's on the internet that might make sense. So there's some counters to the feminism here online. I'm going to put that right over here. I'm going to have to use actually I can use this. Now those groups is known as MGTOW, and the opposite of MGTOW though, MGTOW is men going their own way. These are people that are kind of red-pilled. And then these people are on the opposite end of a spectrum on what's called the manosphere online. And the other opposite end of the spectrum is called pickup. Pickup was the art of like a pickup artist. Notice there's art in there. This pickup artist, it was understanding some of the elements of secret arts, of how to read people. And that's actually what all this does. It allows you to read all things. This is the hand God gives you, eyes and ears into everything. And what it did was it sold this science over here. And this science can be used on either side, but is an art of seduction is what it is. And these people were picking up women and kind of using them, right? But it was on both sides. The men were using the women, but the women over here kind of being set up to learn the art of seduction. They use the men. And that's where the MGTOW comes in. These guys are woke up to it, and they're tired of marrying the women and being divorced and half their stuff being taken away, right? So that's why these guys are in the red pill community online. So there's more to this than just, like I said, there's variations. So that's the pickup artist and the MGTOW that's online. Now, I want to quickly get into, these things can all be talked about deeper, but I want to quickly get into the groups online that I want to target. I want to flip this board around and tell you the groups I want to target, because everyone's at a different place, right? Some people know what's going on, some people don't. Some people are aware of certain things, some people aren't. And so these groups online that I'm trying to target is, you have your economists, your investment groups, you have your conspiracy circles, you have your religious people, you have your MGTOWs, men going their own way, they tired of the women and feminism. Then you have your pickup artists. They still love women. These are what you call your blue pilled. These are your red pilled. These people are your religious, your right-handers. Conspiracy people, or people are starting to connect with the red pill. I guess we can say red pill here. Red pill community. And then you got your investment economics. Well, why is the money up there? Well, why are those people up there? Well, you have to understand that when Babylon made the Pharisee and Sadducee, they also made a couple other entities. The Babylonian entities are more than just the Pharisee, or the right hand, and the Sadducee. It's also money changers. There's a story where Jesus flipped over money changers, flipped over the money changer tables in the temple. Said, "You made my Father's house, which is called a house of prayer, and you turned it into a den of thieves." Right? There's lawyers, and there is scribes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people. Like 5 fingers on a hand. This right here makes up another hand. Okay? So, you're going to later find out hand of Lucifer. That's some crazy stuff, right? Okay, so we have the Babylonian entities. Those things, those guys, when Jesus spoke, he can say, "Woe unto you, scribes and lawyers! Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees! For you were given the key of knowledge, and anyone that tried to enter in, you hindered, and you yourselves won't even enter in." So we're gonna get into more of what those things are. The last thing I'll say about this, though, is that these people online may or may not be aware of the dark arts, or just the concepts of these things. they know that these things work, right? We've learned in sales psychology how to get sales and things like that, and sell people on investments and credit cards and all that stuff, right? But people certainly know that these things are manipulative and destructive. But what I'm trying to do is I'm here to build a bridge between all these communities and all these worlds and anchor the arts to its origins. Now we know that these are the groups online that are starting to either know the dark arts or know the secret arts, and everyone's at a different place, right? So the biggest thing that's waking people up is this topic right here, the money changing. The money changers, some of these is like, okay, where's this at today? Money changers today is known as the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is a central bank that's in our government, right? And it prints off money. And so that's one aspect. The scribes today, we don't use the word scribe too much, but we say the media, or we say Hollywood, right? The arts, entertainment, and all that. Your scribes, they write all your music and your movies and such, all that. Now your lawyers, they're the ones that pass your, well, there's two kinds of lawyers. There's the ones that protect you and defend you. There's ones that go to bat for you to enforce a law. But there's also the lawmakers as well. That's in the House, the legislative branch, right? And that's our government. And right now, I want to put this, but don't take this as the entire thing. Right now, they got these people known as the deep state, right? Right now, they got these guys known as the fake news, right? And then these guys are the seduction, and these guys are the ones who to separate, but also more than just separate. You know, these are the ones that change and hide the truth to make sure you don't wake up, you don't find it. These ones are doing the same thing, but they're now they're more seducing you by selling peace. These are the main ones right here. This is your star people. These things wouldn't really work much without this. I mean, this one, yes, but this wouldn't work much without these guys. And then you got to institute the laws, and then you got to start brainwashing people. Right? This is where it's at in our nation generation today. We won't get into all these. This is just skimming the surface and hitting a big picture without getting too many bullet points. But we're going to hit up all these groups online, and we'll try to speak your language wherever you are. If you're a MGTOW person, you're a conspiracy theory person, you're a follower of Jesus, whether you're Catholic or Protestant, or you're just someone that's, the petrodollar is falling, you're trying to get into silver, gold, cryptocurrencies, you're an economist, you know that there's some scandals going on at the Federal Reserve. It's all over online. People know this. I'm trying to reach out to you people as well. So we're going to talk about what is the Babylonian entities. We're going to talk about the Babylonian dark arts. And the biggest thing that we're going to get into is what is Mystery Babylon. Hashtag. All right, we won't get into what's that, and also we're going to get into the mystery of iniquity. What's the mystery of faith and the vision of the evening and morning. This is from the book of Daniel, from Gabriel, the archangel. These are the topics we will start in, but the mystery of faith is broke down to times, keys, scales, and frames that we heard about before. We're going to get into all that. This is the big picture of our presentation. These are people I'm reaching out to, and we're going to build a bridge in. We're hoping to make good students become good teachers and to educate this nation. Thank you.